The Syracuse Orange enter another season with Dino Babers at the helm, and again, some differing expectations for this Orange program. This is the potential ACC sleeper team, but it's also a team that could be a potential disappointment in this conference. It's been an up and down tenure with Dino Babers at head coach, some really good years and some not so good years. This year, we'll see what happens with Orange football in 2023. Will they continue to be on the rise in the ACC, or is this team going to fall back down towards the bottom of the conference? What's up, Tailgaters? My name is Tailgate Nate. Welcome to my channel. I'm predicting each and every one of the 133 FBS level college football teams this summer, and that means I am doing your favorite team. So hit the subscribe button and ring the bell so you know when that video gets uploaded. But there are more ways than that you can help me support my channel. You're already doing one right now by watching the video, and you can do more by liking, commenting, sharing, and anything else you can think of to help me support my channel and what I do here, sharing one of my passions with you guys. This is the first video I'm recording, I believe, in which I've passed 1,000 subscribers, so thank you all so much. Let's continue getting that subscriber goal up and up. I really appreciate each and every one of you guys for hitting that subscribe button that have done so already. In case you haven't, there's still time to do so, but again, I understand if you can't. Let's talk about the Syracuse Orange in 2023. How do we do things around here? We go through a roster overview, look at who the team lost, who's coming back, and who's coming in through the transfer portal and recruiting class, as well as taking a look at the 2023 Orange football schedule and giving it a good old-fashioned game-by-game preview and prediction. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let's talk about Syracuse Orange football in 2023. Your quarterback room is going to look very similar to last year. Your top two leading passers, but more notably, your starter in Garrett Schrader does come back. 2,640 yards, 17 touchdowns, 7 interceptions on almost 65% completion last season. He's also a very good runner, can use his legs well. 453 yards and 9 touchdowns was the team's second leading rusher last season because the team's leading rusher and Sean Tucker is gone. We'll talk more about that in a second, but Garrett Schrader, very good option at quarterback for this Orange team. I believe he will be that again in 2023. And in case anything were to happen, you have Carlos Del Rio Wilson, who had limiting values of success last season, but again is a somewhat experienced option if anything were to happen to Garrett Schrader. Again, you never want to predict injury, so knock on wood. That's what my desk is made out of. But Garrett Schrader should be a very solid starter for Syracuse this season as he was last year. Now we'll get to Sean Tucker, a absolutely phenomenal talent at the running back position, coming off, I believe, back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons. Last year, he surpassed 1,000 yards with 1,060, and then 11 rushing touchdowns last season. Was, of course, the team's leading rusher. And you lose a heck of a player, very, very talented. Was pretty good out of the backfield with his hands as well, at 254 receiving yards with 2 receiving touchdowns. So a vital piece of that offense is going to be gone. Who will step up in that running back room? Well, I believe it will be one of two guys. LaQuint Allen, who had 274 yards and a touchdown last season, or it'll be Jawan Price, only 8 carries last season, but he should see that carry total increase mightily in 2023. Wide receiver room, you do lose Devon Cooper, who was your second leading receiver last year, 490 yards and 3 touchdowns for him. You also lose Courtney Jackson, who had 201 yards and a touchdown on 15 catches. However, in what my opinion is your best wide receiver, I think many Syracuse fans would agree with that. He's your leading receiver from last season. He comes back, Oronde Gadsden, 969 yards and 6 touchdowns on 61 catches last season, and there's a lot of talented pieces in the wide receiver room as well. Damian Alford, Isaiah Jones, and Trevor Pena are some of the other guys that will be catching footballs for Garrett Schrader and this Syracuse Orange offense. In the tight end room, you do lose Chris Elmore, had a season-ending injury last year, didn't play a whole lot. In fact, didn't even have a catch last year. So your leading receiver at tight end last season, only 5 catches for 31 yards, but Maximilian Meng and Dan Villari will be those tight ends this upcoming season. On the offensive line, a key piece in Matthew Bergeron leaves, as well as Dakota Davis and Carlos Vettorello. But you do return Chris Bleich, Kalen Ellis, and Josh Ilawa, apologies if I mispronounced any names there, as well as getting a transfer in Joe Moore coming over from Richmond, another one in David Wallabaugh coming over from Kentucky, both from 3-star rated transfers. Only had room for Joe Moore on there, but Wallabaugh could see action next season as well. Defensively, let's talk about this Orange team on the defensive side of the ball. On the defensive line, you do lose some pretty solid pieces here. So Jadius Gear, again, apologies for mispronunciations, 29 tackles, 3.5 sacks last year, and Steve Linton had 4 sacks last year. Gear, I believe that was 4th on the team, and Linton tied for 3rd, or I guess which would make Gear 5th. But a lot of sack production leaving that room. However, you do have a lot of nice talent coming back here. Caleb Okechukwu, again, probably said that last name wrong. I apologize. Had 7 sacks last year. That led the team. He comes back, as well as Kevin Darton. Pretty good player there. And then Kevin Jobity, both of them come back, as well as getting some transfers coming in, one of them most notably. In fact, I only believe one transfer coming in on that defensive line, and it is him, Braylon Ingraham, coming over from the University of Alabama. In the line backing units, you do lose Michael Jones, who was your 2nd leading tackler last year, tied for a 3rd with Steve Linton in sacks last year with 4, had 82 tackles. Again, as I said, 2nd on the team. Really good linebacker, you lose him. You do return your leading tackler, though, in Marlo Wax, who had 88 tackles, 2nd on the team with 4.5 sacks, as well as Derek McDonald, Stephon Thompson, and Leon Lowry, who are going to be some big parts to this linebacking unit. And then in the defensive back room, there's a lot of talented pieces that leave here, huh? Garrett Williams being one of them, 35 tackles, 3 pass defended, 2 interceptions last season. You also do lose Deuce Chestnut and Jahad Carter, who led the team with 3 interceptions last season, are all gone. Chestnut and Carter have transferred on to Power 5 programs with more national title aspirations. However, you do return some nice talent. Justin Barron and Isaiah Johnson, as well as Elijah Clark, were top 5 tacklers last year, and then Jason Simmons, among some other names, returned in this defensive back room. And you do get some transfers in there that are just not on the board. Your head coach is Dino Babers, offensive coordinator Jason Beck, defensive coordinator is Rocky Long. I believe this is going to be a very competitive, very sneaky good football team here in 2023. I think they have all the pieces, even with all they lose. Still think this is going to be a good team here in New York. When you take a look at the schedule here, hey, if you haven't seen one of my videos before, I'll break down the key real quick. Any game at home is going to be underlined, and any game on the road will be in italics of the slanted text. Any game in green is a game where I think the Orange are going to win easily. Any game in yellow is, hey, the other team puts up a fight, or it's a very close back and forth game, but Syracuse will still win, and red is a loss. Your first 2 games are against Colgate and Western Michigan. I think you win both of them pretty handily here. Colgate is an FCS program, not much doing there, and Western Michigan was one of the group of 5 teams this year that lost a lot of talent to the transfer portal and other means as well. Western Michigan is one of those MAC teams that may have some struggles this season. I got Syracuse being able to beat them fairly easily here, but you got to go on the road and play Purdue. Now, this is a very close game last year, if my memory serves me right. Should be a very close game again this year. Syracuse definitely has a lot more returning pieces, but Purdue may also be overall the more complete football team, you could argue. However, I would lean the way of Syracuse probably being the better team here. I really like what Syracuse has with Garrett Schrader and Gadsden there. I like that quarterback wide receiver combo. There's a lot of good pieces on defense here, but Purdue's going to be competitive and win some games this year. They got Hudson Card at quarterback, the former Texas transfer. I believe Purdue's going to put up some points here. That defense, I know it lost some pieces from last year, but I believe it's going to put a stop to the Syracuse offense. I think going on the road there in Ross-Ade Stadium going to be a little tough for the Syracuse team, so I got them dropping their first game of the year in week 3 to the Purdue Boilermakers. That's still going to be a very competitive team. There's a lot of pieces still to like about the reigning Big Ten West champs, and I believe Syracuse will drop that game there on the road. Army is a very tough out-of-conference game. Do not discount Army. That's a team that's going to fight, that's going to play hard. But I do believe with Syracuse having this game at home that they are going to end up winning that game. I think Army's going to be able to beat one of the ACC teams they play this year. Spoiler alert for a preview and prediction coming up. However, I believe that Syracuse will not be that team. I think they're going to be able to defensively be able to slow down that offensive threat that Army brings. Now, the Army defense can be pretty good as well, but I think the Syracuse defense is poised to be able to exploit it. So I got Syracuse being able to win that game. However, your next 2 games are very, very tough, and the Dome has not been kind to Clemson in the past. So sneaky upset pick here. Again, this is a very close game last year. It's been a very close game for the most part in recent history. In fact, a couple wins, I do believe, for the Syracuse Orange here as well. But I think Clemson goes on the road and gets them this year. I think that offense is going to improve dramatically with Garrett Riley coming in as the offensive coordinator. I really like Cade Klubnik and all the weapons he has, and we know that we know that Clemson defense is going to be top-notch, top-tier. Even though they may have some questions coming into this year, I still think it's going to be a really good defense. I see Syracuse playing another close game, but ultimately I do believe they will lose to Clemson at home, although wouldn't surprise me as a potential upset there. And North Carolina, I think, has too much offensive firepower. Now, Syracuse could put up points if that North Carolina defense does not get better. It was abysmally bad last season, one of the worst defenses in Power 5. If not, you can make the case for the entire country. However, this North Carolina team is led by a Heisman caliber quarterback in Drake May. I do not think they're going to be able to go on the road and win that game with how much offensive firepower North Carolina possesses. Same kind of thing with Florida State, although I believe that the Seminoles are a more complete team. I believe that's a playoff-ready team, much like the Clemson Tigers, and that's going to be a very hard game for the Syracuse Orange to go on the road and win. They got another Heisman caliber quarterback there in Jordan Travis, a lot of weapons offensively, including some really big wide receivers that I think are going to be a problem for the Syracuse secondary. And then defensively, it's a very versatile Florida State defense, added some really good transfers. I'm really high on what Mike Norvell has there with Florida State. Don't think Syracuse is going to go on the road and win that game there. Then you get your bye week before going on the road to face the Virginia Tech Hokies. Now, this is a Thursday night game, so definitely a little interesting here. Syracuse on a 3-game losing streak, at least to what I am predicting right here, right? Who knows what actually is able to happen here. But there are going to be some teams that are going to struggle in Blacksburg. Now, I think Virginia Tech is going to struggle all year long. I'm just not super confident in what Brent Pry has this season. Give him some more time, build that Virginia Tech program back up. But it's really hard to go on the road and win in Blacksburg. I'm calling an upset here with Virginia Tech being able to beat the Syracuse Orange there at home. Thursday night game, we know how night environments are in Blacksburg. I believe that the Hokies will get that win over Syracuse, handing them their 4th straight loss. But it's okay. You come back home and play on a Friday night against Boston College, who, again, could be a sleeper team there. Even with Phil Dracovic gone, they got a pretty good sleeper breakout caliber at quarterback. There still are some good weapons there. Defensively, there's still some good pieces, but Boston College, I also think, could be a team that could struggle to put it together this year. And Syracuse, I do not believe, is going to lose 5 in a row this season. So I do believe, I believe they actually ended up losing 5 in a row last year. Don't think that's going to happen this year. They're going to end up beating Boston College, getting back in the win column. However, in that neutral site game in New York City against Pitt, I think Pitt just has too much talent. Phil Dracovic, just spoke about him. He, at one point, was projected to be a first, if not second-round NFL draft pick. If he can stay healthy, can fix some inconsistencies. Pitt's got a lot of good weapons offensively, and even though they lost some key contributors on defense, still going to be a very aggressive defense under Pat Narduzzi this year. I believe Syracuse will end up losing that game. However, you got to go on the road to play Georgia Tech now. Syracuse 4-6. You got to win your last 2 games to make a bowl game. And I do believe that they do just that. I do believe they're going to go on the road and beat Georgia Tech, although do not sleep on the Yellow Jackets this year. I think they have the opportunity and the chance to be able to surprise some people this season with Brent Key coming in. It's a whole different program and feel with this Georgia Tech team, and there's a lot of good talent on it. I just do not believe that Syracuse will be losing that game. And I also believe that they're going to be beating Wake Forest there as well. Wake Forest with losing Sam Hartman, A.T. Perry. There's a lot of explosiveness gone on offense, and I think that Syracuse defense is going to be up to the task there as well, even with Mitch Griffiths, who possesses some good ability at the quarterback position for Wake Forest. So all in all, I know I ran through games a little quickly there at the end, a little pressed for time, but 6-6 is what I got for the Syracuse Orange this season. I do have the Orange going back to a bowl game with Schrader and Gadsden, some of those pieces they have on defense. I think this is going to be a pretty solid football team. Could be a really good team too if everything goes right. Could be an ACC sleeper. But that's my thoughts on the Orange. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. And as always, remember to play hard but tailgate harder. See all you guys in the next video. Goodbye.